Listen carefully, before you scroll, before your finger moves, before you tell yourself, I'll watch this later. What if this exact moment is the moment God is watching most closely? Not to shame you, not to trap you, but to see what you will choose when no one else is watching. Because the truth is, God is not only present in churches, prayers, or holy moments. He is present right now, in your room, with your phone in your hand, in the silence between your thoughts, and every choice you make, especially the small ones. You are revealing where your heart truly stands. We often think God only watches the big decisions, who we marry, what career we choose, whether we pray or not. But God says He sees the secret places, the quiet decisions, the moments when you think no one is paying attention. You may hide things from people. You may look strong on the outside while struggling on the inside. You may smile publicly and suffer privately. But understand this, nothing is hidden from God, not your doubts, not your fears, not your excuses, not the times you heard His voice and ignored it. God sees when you choose comfort over obedience. God sees when you delay what He asked you to do. God sees when you say later instead of now. And here's what makes this so serious. God doesn't watch like a stranger. He watches like a father. He watches with love, but also with truth. He knows when your heart is drifting, even before you admit it to yourself. He knows when you are slowly growing cold, when distractions are pulling you away, when the noise of the world is louder than His voice. And every time He sends a warning, every time He sends a message like this, it is not random, it is intentional. Some of you think, I've ignored God before and nothing happened. But delayed consequences are not cancelled consequences. Silence does not mean approval. Just because the sky didn't fall doesn't mean God wasn't watching. In fact, many times God allows time, not because He agrees with your choices, but because He is giving you space to return. Mercy looks like patience. Grace looks like another chance. But grace has a limit when it is continually rejected. God sees when you are tired of pretending. He sees when your heart still wants Him, even if your habits don't show it yet. He sees when you feel distant, but don't know how to come back. And that is why this moment matters. This is not about fear, it's about awareness. Awareness that your life is being shaped right now by what you choose to listen to and what you choose to ignore. Every warning ignored hardens the heart just a little more. Every message skipped becomes easier to skip the next time. And slowly, without realizing it, people don't walk away from God, they drift. One scroll at a time, one excuse at a time, one I'll fix it later at a time, until one day they realize they no longer recognize the voice they once heard clearly. But hear this clearly. God is watching not to condemn you, but to call you back. He is watching to see if you will pause long enough to listen. He is watching to see if this message will be just another video or a turning point. Heaven pays attention when a heart chooses humility over pride, obedience over comfort, truth over distraction. And this is where it becomes even more serious, because many people believe that as long as they are not openly rejecting God, they are safe. They think silence is harmless. They think neutrality exists. But hear this carefully. Silence is not empty. Silence speaks, silence chooses, silence decides. The moment you hear truth and choose not to respond, you have already responded. The moment God calls and you delay, that delay becomes an answer. There is no such thing as standing in the middle when it comes to the soul. You are either moving toward God or drifting away from Him. And drifting is dangerous because it feels slow, comfortable, and unnoticed until it's too late. The enemy understands this better than most people do. The devil does not need loud rebellion. He doesn't need you to curse God or deny Him publicly. All he needs is your silence, your distraction, your not now, your maybe later. Because silence keeps you from praying. Silence keeps you from repenting. Silence keeps you from changing. And while you remain quiet, the enemy remains busy. Think about how many times you felt that inner nudge, that pull to pray, that discomfort telling you something wasn't right, that moment when you knew God was speaking, but you muted it. You didn't argue, you didn't fight, you just ignored it, and ignoring felt easier than obedience. But every time you did that, something shifted inside you. Not loudly, not suddenly, quietly. Silence trains the heart to resist God without realizing it. The voice that once felt strong begins to sound distant. Conviction begins to feel optional. And soon, what once bothered you no longer moves you. That is not peace, that is numbness. And numbness is one of the enemy's favorite weapons. Understand this: God invites. The enemy waits. God calls you forward. The enemy is patient. He knows if he can keep you quiet long enough, you won't need to be pulled away. You'll walk away on your own, slowly, comfortably, without even noticing when you cross the line. This is why this moment matters so much. Because choosing not to choose is still choosing. When God places truth in front of you and you scroll past it, you are not neutral. When God warns and you dismiss it, you are not undecided. You are aligning yourself with whatever is pulling you away from Him. There is no spiritual autopilot. If you are not intentional about God, something else will take His place. Many people say, I believe in God, but belief without response is incomplete. Faith is not silent. Faith moves. Faith responds. Faith obeys. And when faith goes quiet, it doesn't stay still. It fades. Not because God leaves, but because the heart stops answering. The most dangerous place to be is not rebellion, it's indifference. Rebellion still feels something. Indifference feels nothing. And a heart that feels nothing is easier to shape, easier to mislead, easier to lose. That's why the enemy pushes distraction so hard. Endless noise, endless scrolling, endless excuses, because noise keeps you from hearing, and silence toward God keeps you from responding. Right now, something is asking for your attention. Two voices are present. One is calling you back, gently but firmly. The other is whispering, this isn't urgent, you can deal with this later, and what you do with this moment matters more than you think. Because moments like this don't just pass, they accumulate. They build a direction. They form a path. You may feel like doing nothing is safe, but in the spiritual realm, doing nothing is movement, just not toward God. Every ignored warning strengthens the wrong influence. Every silent response gives permission for distance to grow, and distance, left unchecked, becomes separation. God is not asking for perfection in this moment. He is asking for response. He is asking you not to stay silent, because silence is never empty. It always takes a side. And while many people remain silent, convincing themselves there is still plenty of time, the clock keeps moving whether you acknowledge it or not. Time does not pause for comfort. It does not slow down for excuses. Every second that passes is a second you will never get back. And every moment you delay responding to God is a moment that quietly slips into eternity. We tell ourselves, I'll change later. I'll pray when things calm down. I'll get serious about God when my life is more stable. But later is a promise none of us were given. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. The next breath is not guaranteed. Time is not something you own. It is something you are borrowing. And God, in His mercy, warns before time runs out. Look around the world. Things are shifting faster than ever. Hearts are growing colder. Truth is being mocked. Right is being called wrong, and wrong is being celebrated. These are not coincidences. These are signs, warnings, signals that the window for indifference is closing. Yet many people sleep through the alarm because urgency feels uncomfortable. God has always warned before major moments. Before the flood, there was a call to repent. Before destruction, there was a chance to turn back. Before judgment, there was mercy extended. God does not surprise people with consequences. He warns them repeatedly, patiently. And every warning ignored shortens the time left to respond. What makes this so heavy is that time feels generous until it's gone. No one plans to run out of time. No one wakes up thinking, today I will lose my chance. It always feels like there will be another opportunity, another message, another moment, until suddenly there isn't. And regret arrives with a voice louder than any warning ever was. There are people who thought they had years and their time ended in minutes. There are people who assumed they would fix things later, and later never came. And there are people right now wishing they had listened when their heart was still soft enough to respond. This is not meant to create fear, it's meant to wake you up. Urgency is not panic. Urgency is clarity. It is understanding the value of the moment you are in. It is realizing that God is speaking now, because now is when your heart can still hear. Delay does not make obedience easier, it makes it harder. The longer you wait, the more comfortable distance becomes. Every warning from God carries mercy inside it. If God wanted to condemn you, he would be silent. If he wanted to abandon you, he would stop calling. The fact that you are hearing this right now means time is still available, but not unlimited. A door can be open and still closing at the same time. People often misunderstand God's patience. They think because nothing dramatic has happened, nothing serious is at stake. But patience is not permission. Time is not approval. The absence of consequences today does not mean the absence of consequences forever. God is giving space for repentance, not an excuse to ignore him. The danger of waiting is that life keeps filling the space. More responsibilities, more distractions, more noise. And soon responding to God feels overwhelming because so much time has passed. What once required a step now feels like a climb. What once felt simple now feels heavy. Right now is lighter than later. Right now is clearer than tomorrow. Right now is when the heart is still tender enough to change direction. And that is why this moment matters more than you think. This is not about religion. This is about timing. Divine timing. God's warnings are never meant to trap you. They are meant to rescue you. But rescue only works if you respond while there is still time. The clock is not meant to scare you. It's meant to remind you that what you do next carries weight. Because time is running out, not loudly, not violently, but faithfully, second by second. And it will not wait for you to feel ready. And in the middle of all this urgency, all this warning, all this talk about time running out, there is something you must never forget. This message did not begin with judgment. It began with love. A love so deep, so costly, so real, that it changed history forever. Because before God ever warned you, before he ever called you back, before he ever spoke about consequences, a price was already paid. Jesus did not come casually. He did not come comfortably. He did not come safely. He stepped into pain willingly. He carried a weight. Was never his to carry. Nails did not hold him to the cross. Love did. Every drop of blood was intentional. Every breath on that cross was a choice made with your name in mind. And this is where many people misunderstand the seriousness of ignoring God. It is not just ignoring a rule. It is not just rejecting a message. It is turning away from a sacrifice that cost everything. When Jesus said, "It is finished," he wasn't saying the story was over. He was saying the debt was paid, fully, completely, no conditions left unpaid. Think about that for a moment. You were already loved at your worst, already forgiven before you asked, already pursued while you were distant. The cross stands as proof that God did not wait for you to be worthy. He made a way while you were still broken. And when you understand that, this message changes tone. It's no longer just a warning, it's an invitation written in blood. But love rejected carries weight. Grace ignored has consequences. Not because God is cruel, but because love that costly deserves a response. When someone gives everything for you and you walk away, that choice means something. The cross was not small. The suffering was not symbolic. The sacrifice was real. Jesus felt abandonment so you wouldn't have to. He felt separation so you could be restored. He felt judgment so mercy could reach you. And when you choose to dismiss that, to treat it lightly, to delay responding to it, you are not rejecting fear. You are rejecting SQ. Many people say God understands, He knows my heart. And yes, He does. He knows your heart better than you know it yourself. He knows your pain, your confusion, your weakness. But He also knows when love is being taken for granted. Understanding does not cancel responsibility. Mercy does not erase truth. The cross proves how far God was willing to go to save you. And if God was willing to go that far, do not assume He is casual about how that sacrifice is treated. Love that deep is patient, but it is not meaningless. Grace that powerful is generous, but it is not cheap. Jesus did not suffer so you could stay comfortable. He did not bleed so you could remain unchanged. He did not rise again so you could keep delaying. The purpose of the cross was transformation, restoration, a new life, and every time God calls you back, He is pointing you to that cross again, not to shame you, but to remind you what it cost. This is why this moment matters. Because God is not asking you to earn anything. He is asking you to receive what was already paid for. But receiving requires humility. It requires honesty. It requires responding while your heart is still open. There is a reason the message feels heavy right now. It's not pressure. It's weight. The weight of love. The weight of truth. The weight of a sacrifice that refuses to be ignored forever. You cannot stand at the foot of the cross and pretend neutrality exists. You either receive what was given, or you turn away from it. Jesus didn't stay on the cross. He rose, proving that death was defeated and hope was real. And that same power is extended to you now, not later, not someday, now. Because the cross is not just history, it is a decision point. And what you do with that sacrifice will echo far beyond this moment. And if you're wondering why this message feels uncomfortable, why your attention keeps drifting, why something inside you wants to click away, even though another part of you wants to stay, understand this clearly. Resistance is not random. The enemy does not fight what is harmless. He does not interrupt what has no power. He does not distract people from messages that don't matter. The devil is not afraid of noise. He's afraid of truth. He's afraid of moments when light exposes what darkness depends on. And that is why distractions suddenly feel louder when something real is being said. That urge to scroll, that thought telling you this is too intense, too long, too much, that is not coincidence. That is strategy. The enemy knows something many people forget. Awareness breaks control. As long as you remain unaware, comfortable, distracted, he can work quietly. But the moment truth reaches the heart, his grip weakens. And that's when resistance shows up. Not always as fear, often as boredom. Not always as temptation, often as delay. He doesn't need to pull you into obvious evil. He just needs to keep you from responding to truth. Because a heart that never responds never changes. And a life that never changes never threatens the kingdom of darkness. This is why messages like this are fought so hard. Because they interrupt patterns. They wake people up. They force a decision. And decisions are dangerous to the enemy. Indecision is his comfort zone. Distraction is his favorite hiding place. Think about it. How many times have you sat down to pray and suddenly remembered everything you needed to do? How many times have you felt convicted and immediately felt tired? How many times have you heard truth and thought, I'll deal with this later, only to never return to it? Those moments are not empty. They are contested. The devil fears obedience more than he fears perfection. He knows you don't need to have everything figured out to break free. You just need to take one step in the right direction. And that first step is often simply listening, staying, responding, not running when truth knocks, That's why he works hardest at the moment of decision. Not before, not after. Right now. Right when your heart is exposed. Right when you're aware that something needs to change. Right when the door is open. Because if he can interrupt this moment, he can delay transformation. And delay is powerful. Delay keeps people stuck in cycles. Delay keeps people spiritually tired but never healed. Delay keeps people close enough to truth to feel uncomfortable, but far enough to avoid change. It creates a life of almosts, almost prayed, almost repented, almost surrendered, almost free. The enemy knows that if you ever fully respond, his influence weakens. That's why he plants thoughts like, this doesn't apply to you, or you've already heard this, or you're too far gone anyway. Lies wrapped in familiarity. Lies meant to neutralize urgency. But understand this. If this message had no power, there would be no resistance. If it posed no threat, you would feel nothing. The tension you feel right now is evidence that something important is happening. Light is pressing against darkness. Truth is challenging comfort. And the enemy wants you out of this moment as quickly as possible. He doesn't fear you when you listen passively. He fears you when you respond actively. He fears repentance. He fears humility. He fears a heart that says enough. Because chains break when honesty begins. That's why staying present right now matters. Not because of the words themselves, but because of what they are stirring. This is not about emotion, it's about exposure. The enemy thrives in hidden places. Truth brings things into the open. If you felt distracted during this message, don't feel ashamed. Feel alert. Something does not want you to hear this. Something does not want you to reflect. Something does not want you to respond. And that alone should tell you this moment carries weight. And this is where everything comes together. Because after the warning, after the urgency, after the sacrifice, after the resistance, you are still here. You are still listening. And that alone says something powerful. It means this moment is not an accident. It means this is not just another message passing through your day. It means God is still reaching, still inviting, still offering you something many people ignore until it's gone. This is not God trying to scare you into obedience. This is God extending mercy one more time. A chance not because you earned it, not because you deserve it, but because his nature is love. People often misunderstand second chances. They think they come endlessly, automatically, without wait. But every chance is valuable precisely because it can be missed. God does not force himself on anyone. He knocks, he calls, he waits, and waiting is an act of love. But waiting forever is not promised. This moment you're in right now is a gift, a pause in the noise, a space where truth can still reach you, a window where your heart can still turn. Some of you feel unworthy of another chance. You remember how many times you said you'd change and didn't, how many prayers you started and abandoned, how many warnings you ignored, and the enemy uses that history to whisper, it's too late for you. But hear this clearly. If it were too late, you wouldn't be hearing this. Conviction is proof of access. The door is still open. God's mercy does not mean your past didn't matter. It means your future still can. He is not asking you to undo everything at once. He is asking you to respond now, to stop running, to stop delaying. Stop pretending you don't hear him. This chance is not about fixing your whole life in one moment. It's about direction, about turning your face back toward God instead of away from him. One honest decision can interrupt years of drifting. One sincere response can reset a path you thought was too far gone. God knows exactly where you are, not just physically but spiritually. He knows what pulled you away. He knows what hurt you. He knows what disappointed you. And still he calls, not with condemnation, but with invitation, not with anger, but with patience that has not yet expired. Many people wait for a perfect moment to come back to God, when life is calmer, when habits are cleaner, when faith feels stronger. But perfection never comes before obedience. Obedience is what creates change. This moment is enough. right now is enough. There is something powerful about responding while the heart is still tender, before it hardens again, before distractions take over, before excuses rebuild their walls. This is a rare clarity, a quiet moment where truth is louder than everything else. And those moments don't come often. God is not asking for a performance. He is asking for honesty, an honest prayer, an honest surrender, an honest step back toward Him. Heaven does not require eloquence. It responds to humility. This chance is not just for you. What you choose next affects more than you realize. Lives are connected. Influence is real. Obedience echoes. When one person turns back to God, it shifts more than one story. But it always starts with a single response. You don't have to feel ready. You don't have to feel strong. You don't have to feel worthy. You just have to be willing. Willing to say yes instead of later. Willing to listen instead of scroll. Willing to choose God instead of silence. Right now, mercy is speaking. Grace is extended. The invitation is open. And what makes this moment sacred is not the words you've heard, but the decision forming in your heart.